Senator Blumenthal.
Thanks, Mr. Chairman, and I want to thank the leadership of the committee for having this hearing. Thank you for being here today, gentlemen, and I want to thank particularly the Inspector General, Calvin Scovel. We're lucky to have a professional of your caliber doing this investigation, and I look forward to the results. I've been deeply disappointed, in fact, shocked that in grounding these aircraft, American safety officials, in effect, lagged instead of led the world. The same information was available to our FAA as was accessible to every other country that grounded its airline days ahead of us, and that put American passengers in peril. But as important, maybe more so, is the system that led to, in effect, outsourcing safety to the manufacturers of these aircraft. Call it delegation or shifting, as you did. The fact is that the FAA decided to do safety on the cheap, which is neither cheap nor safe, and put the fox in charge of the henhouse. That was true of the 737 MAX 8. In its rush to produce that aircraft, because of competition from Airbus, critical safety features were disregarded. And I'm going to be introducing legislation that will reform this system, which is so fatally riddled with flaws. There needs to be rigorous reform so that the FAA is put back in charge of safety. You said, Mr. Elwell, that the system is fact-based and data-driven. The FAA should have the facts and should be driving the data and making decisions. If the manufacturer has the facts and the data, not the FDA, if its employees, chosen, hired, paid, fired by the manufacturer, are the ones making these critical decisions, and the FAA lacks all of the facts and data necessary to properly oversee them and overrule them, this system of oversight is failing. I will tell you, I read some of the pilot reports. They're public. NASA has them. They provided them to me. They are chilling. If I'd been a passenger on one of those planes and I knew about these incidents, I would have wanted a parachute. Pilots of the airlines struggled to regain control of those aircraft in the same way that the pilots of the fatally crashed aircraft did. They succeeded, the others didn't. So I look forward to your support for legislation that will fundamentally change this flawed system. Mr. Elwell, have you reviewed those pilot reports?
Senator, thank you for your comments. I reviewed the reports. There were...
Did you review them at the time that they were received by NASA?
The reports, I did not personally. The reports were reviewed as they were written and received. There were 24 reports. They're called...
Were they reported to you after the first crash? Because many of them followed the first crash.
The ASRS reports were reviewed and compared against the FDR data or FOQA data that we look at. ASRS reports are reports from pilots on experiences when they, on a trip. We take them very seriously. We review them. We have event review teams that sit down with the pilot, and none of the 24 reports associated with the MAX related to the MCAS or related to what the pilots experienced in either accident.
I'm going to provide you with the reports that were given to me.
Sir.
And my time is limited here. Let me just ask you, were you contacted by anyone in the administration before making your decision to ground those aircraft?
From the moment, Senator, of the Ethiopian accident until we grounded on Wednesday morning, I kept Secretary Chao and the President briefed and fully apprised on all of our activities, which included, I would add, a full
Did she order you to ground the aircraft?
I'm sorry.
Did she order you or otherwise recommend what your decision should be in grounding the aircraft?
Oh, Senator, the decision to ground, to make an emergency grounding of a fleet of aircraft is vested in the FAA. I made that decision.
And one last question. I don't know whether you've seen a ProPublica report. It's just come to my attention. I think it came out today, which reports your contacts with airlines. Could you provide us copies of the emails between yourself and industry representatives, and also a copy of your financial disclosure forms? I understand you had a consulting business while you were part of the FAA. Is that correct?
That's not correct, Senator. I'm happy to supply any and all communications.
I want to give you a full opportunity to respond to the article. It's just been provided to me, but it says that on those financial disclosure forms you reported some income as a special government employee while you were a member of the FAA.
Happy to provide any and all information.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Senator Blunt.